Welcome to the Mystical Playground, a space where curiosity, intuition, and magic come together. This podcast explores healing, shamanism, the Akashic Records, tarot, astrology, and many other mystical paths that invite us to remember who we truly are. Each episode offers grounded conversations with soulful insights, and there's an opportunity for playful exploration of the unseen. There's no dogma, just discovery. If you're curious about the mysteries that are available for us in our everyday life, and you're ready to explore your inner world, you're in the right place. Come play in the magic. Before we move on, I want to speak to you for a moment. If you've been feeling stirred up inside, maybe you're feeling tender, or you are ready for change, I see you. Sometimes we carry patterns that we can't quite name, emotions that feel older than this moment, or beliefs that don't feel like they're ours anymore. And you don't have to untangle all of this alone. I offer spiritual response therapy sessions, which is a gentle subconscious clearing process that allows me to work with your higher self to lovingly release what is weighing you down. There's no force, no pressure, just soft, intentional clearing. If you feel that nudge inside your chest right now and you are receiving that quiet, maybe this is for me, you can find me at www.thebloominglotushealing.com. That's www.thebloominglotushealing.com. Whenever you're ready, I'll be here. I want to invite you into something really special. Each month, I co-host a mediumship circle with Maurice Sinclair, who's a psychic medium and shamanic practitioner. We gather in sacred space for connection, messages from spirit, and this beautiful, intentional collective healing that happens naturally as we connect with our loved ones or our spirit guides or team. These circles are intimate, heart-centered, and deeply supportive. Whether you're seeking guidance, validation, or simply want a space to feel held and practice without any pressure, you are welcome here. You can find more details on the show notes. I look forward to sitting in circle with you. We are on this third episode, and I am so grateful that you're here following, that you're listening, that you feel inspired to continue to connect with these conversations. And I cannot express enough how much I love the energy of this specific podcast, because the energy of this podcast is a manifesting generator. The human design of this podcast is a manifesting generator. And as I study a little bit more about manifesting generators and the energy of that, there's sort of a fluidity that that's brought into the that specific archetype of the manifesting generator. And that's the interesting thing about this specific project for me, is that it's been feeling like I just want to flow and feel like I am just sharing alongside with you as my friend, right? And we're just riding the wave of exploration. And this specific episode is a build-up, which is naturally happening this way. By the way, I'm not necessarily like intentionally putting these things together, but as I bring in people for conversations, I am noticing how certain things are being woven in, and everything is just divinely guided. And I just love how everything is building up. So if you listened to the previous podcast episode where we talked about integration, this conversation that you're going to listen to today is sort of like a integration conversation. And so you get to experience a little bit of that in this episode. And The person that I'm bringing in for today, her name is Cheryl. I met her back in 2022 when I sat with Mama Ayahuasca. And the interesting thing about connecting with people in these environments is that your heart is so open, and there's sort of like this shift of energy that you are connecting to within yourself and also in the way that you relate to others. So, when you come together, what I've noticed, when you come together with people who have taken the medicine with you and you reconnect with them afterwards, like way after, there's this really beautiful instant connection to the heart space. And I feel with Cheryl, that is literally what happened. So we haven't spoken for a while, and she reached out to me in January. Around January, I was already thinking about doing this episode or doing this podcast, sorry, not this episode, but this podcast. And when I had the conversation with her, I was, sharing my healing journey, and we were weaving in a little bit of the conversation of where we are now in our healing journey, where we have landed after that specific connection with Mama Aya, and of course we've taken other plant medicines afterwards, or have done other healing modalities afterwards. But there's such a strong connection to Mama Aya in the sense of when we come together, we can really compare or really see the transition or the shifts that have happened since then. So when we had the conversation, I was really invigorated. I remember leaving that meeting just invigorated and so happy that we reconnected. And when I finally decided to take the plunge and do the podcast, I immediately reached out to her and I said, listen, I want you to come to my podcast. And I explained to her, I am just having conversations with friends, and this is just a place for us to just really explore and have fun in this mystical journey that we're all in. And so she immediately said yes, and I brought her in. And as we were having the conversation, we really discovered a lot in regards to the inner child and how we both have been changing that relationship to our inner child, and how we are both reparenting our inner child, and how we are, moving into a deeper understanding of what our needs are. And all of this by connecting to our inner child. Inner child work is not an easy path. And when we connect to our inner child, we could potentially be connecting to a very sad part of us, and that has been potentially ignored, right, for a long time. And when we connect to it, it can be really jarring and difficult. And so it's not always a joyful thing to do when we connect to our inner child. However, it is rewarding when we put in the work and we have the tools and the people around us to support us in that journey. So I continue to work with my inner child. I still have so much work to do, but I am so grateful for all of the work that I've done so far, because it's given me the opportunity to just feel into a different aspect of myself and to see myself from a different place, a different space. And so the conversation today is going to be along the lines of the inner child, along the lines of reparenting ourselves and the things that we can do to do so, among some other things. But I really want to invite you to come in with that beautiful connection to your heart, and to, of course, make sure that you're checking in with your body, you're checking in with your higher self. Anything that we say here, if it doesn't resonate, you don't have to take it. But if it does resonate, then that's great. I hope that this is activating for you, that it feels like you've been nourished deeply from within. And without further ado, let's get started with the episode. Yeah, so I just want to invite you to either close your eyes or soften your gaze, and let's just ground together and focus our awareness inward by connecting to our breath And if you need to take a couple of deep breaths to kind of just release, you can go ahead and do so, or just simply notice your breath as it goes in and out of your nostrils. And I just want to invite you to just notice the sensation of your feet against the floor. Just feeling that connection with Mother Earth through your feet. And let's take this moment to just set an intention in our hearts, whatever intention that you have that is specific to you. Just go ahead and set that intention within yourself and just visualize that and let that sit right at the center of your heart. And maybe if you want to visualize that intention with a set of colors or a color, you can go ahead and do so. Or maybe you just want to visualize that intention as it unfolds in the way that you imagine it, specific for you. And as you allow that to exist in your heart space, just setting the intention as well to allow our breath to become this amplifier of this intention that we are setting here together. Amplifying that loving energy within ourselves, within our bodies, and allowing that to amplify down through our feet, deep into the ground, into Mother Earth. As we share that loving intention and that loving presence with Mother Earth, allowing that reciprocity to exist. And that really we don't have to do anything, we just be present. And allowing that beautiful energy to travel down to the center of the earth and make this lovely anchor that allows us to stay present and connected with Mother Earth, grounded, allowing ourselves to relax our shoulders and our bellies, relax our entire being, our physical being, to allow the stream of consciousness to be part of this conversation today, whatever wants to come alive, that is for the highest good and the highest good of all. Allowing ourselves to be the vessel for our throats to be activated, for our hearts to be activated, for our third eye and our crown to be activated, as our root, sacral, and solar plexus hold down the fort through our physical body. We allow the stream of consciousness not only to be present, but also to flow through us with ease. Calling in our ancestors, ancestors of the land, thanking them for allowing us to do this work, to act as our medicine. Thanking our spirit guides and spirit team, our higher selves, and thanking ourselves and each other for being here and now. And I just want to invite you to visualize that soft awareness of that loving embrace that is present here to expand outward into your entire auric field and even further out into your entire home. Calling in protection and support, knowing that we are divinely guided, loved, accepted as we are. And so it is. And when you feel ready, I want to invite you to just come back into the space and just feel into that energy.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I really like to do that. Back in the day when I was doing the live streams, people would be very nervous because it was live on YouTube. So I always did this before we went online and went
I
live.
love
So
that.
I figured why not do it? Even if we're not doing a live stream, I think sometimes there could be like, what do we talk about? Right. And so, yeah. And yeah, well, first of all, I just kind of wanted to thank you for being here, for saying yes to just having a conversation with me and being this playground that I am inviting into my life as well as into the life of those who are going to listen to this as well as the life of those who are going to participate in this. So thank you for coming into the playground with me and having
Thank you for
conversations.
inviting me.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to you. And and I kind of wanted to just share because this is going to be the first time that a lot of the people that listen to me on YouTube or that followed me before, this is going to be the first time that they hear from you. So I kind of wanted to just share here that Cheryl, I met through the ayahuasca ceremony that I participated on in 2022, which, if for those of you who have followed me for a while, you know that I talked about that. So Cheryl was definitely part of that experience. And then it's interesting because our hearts are so open, we connect so deeply in these spaces. And then that deep connection doesn't go away, just sort of like just sticks around. And it's just so interesting how it unfolds. And I think sometimes it can be a little different, right? For because the way that we operate in the world, we typically have the mask and we have like all the walls up and our hearts are not open. So it's harder to connect like that. But when you're in that space where your heart is open and you can just share yourself and be in this vulnerable place, because we're all in that place of vulnerability, and not only vulnerability but courageous vulnerability. I think there's like so these beautiful connections that can happen that regardless of how involved they are or less involved they are, I feel like they still in some shape or form activate us. And so I just wanted to, I'm kind of curious because I don't really know how you ended up taking the medicine before. So I'm kind of curious to know about your story, Cheryl. How, like, because I met you that day, right? I met you there, but I don't know what led to that point. So I'm just kind of curious to know. And of course, just share whatever you're comfortable with. Like, I don't want you to feel like, oh my God, I have to say everything. But yeah, what led you to that point? I'm kind of curious.
Okay, so in 2020, before the world shut down, I had gone through a really difficult uh, relationship ending. The partner was not a healthy partner for me. It was very hard for me to leave. It was abusive in every form you could talk about. And it left me feeling very alone and raw. I think anyone who's had a narcissistic relationship knows that these people isolate you from your family and your friends. So I was basically starting all over again. I was trying to find myself. And then fast forward a couple of months to March, and the world is shutting down. So now I don't have this outlet really to go and explore community and find myself again. So I really had to go within. And when I started going within, the spiritual realm just kept calling to me. And I think layer by layer, such like an onion, different things reveal themselves. And there was a spiritual entrepreneurship program that I was a part of. And the person that was leading it had sat with ayahuasca many times and had talked about it highly and how his journeys changed his life profoundly. And it just felt like it was something that was calling to me. But I wasn't in that space where I was going to go seek it, especially 2020 when the world had shut down. So I was kind of just in the space of just kind of letting things happen, and rolls around 2022. I ended up going to a community and didn't even know this community was an ayahuasca church. I just thought it
Oh,
was a
wow.
spirit. Yeah, I just thought it was a spiritual community. They had a get together the day after my birthday. So I found it very serendipitous. And I went, and it was not even that time that I found out that they were an ayahuasca church. It was the following month after, when somebody had told me, right, that it was an ayahuasca church. And I was like, the heavens opened up. It was like, oh my gosh, this is divine. Like, I've been led here from my angels, my spirit guides. And so from that moment, I knew that that was where I was supposed to be. That was my calling. And that's what chose me to sit with the medicine, really to kind of go within myself and remove, like you were talking about, these social conditioning around who we were expected to be, who we were taught to be, the mask. I really wanted to, I think also when you're in a relationship that's extremely toxic, you lose parts of yourself. And so I was really on a quest to find who I was before all of this trauma had impacted and shaped me going forward. And I just really wanted to go back to the me before all of that. And I didn't really know how to find that. And for me, the answers were in ayahuasca. You know, it was something that was presented to me, and I just felt like this is the opportunity. I'm going to take it. And so I went with it.
Wow, that's so well, first of all, I just want to say you're talking about serendipity, and I feel like your story, that serendipity is also present here because I also come from a past of abusive relationships. And so it's interesting because I didn't know this about you. So this is so special, and I'm so grateful that you're sharing this here. And I receive you with so much love because I understand at a very deep level how much it can impact us and how lost we can feel after a situation like that. Because it's almost like your essence, even though in reality it's not destroyed, but it's the perspective, it's the perception that it is, because there's so much of a mind, you know, for lack of a better word, mind F that is happening there.
That's where I was
So you know
going.
what I mean? Because it is. I mean, you really do feel so lost. And I remember like when I left my ex-husband, and it's weird because you still love them, and then but at the same time, you know they're not good for you. And then there's like this really weird place that you're in that you feel I don't know about you, but for me I felt guilty and shame, and I was ashamed also because I was like, how did I end up here? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then wondering what people would think about. And then also I went through a journey of trying to leave him like several times. You know, it's like very
Yes.
similar. It's a very
Yes.
similar process, right? Like it's because there's like a cocktail of energies there, and also like the physical connection. Because of course, when you're connecting with somebody romantically, you're connecting physically as well. So there's also that element that's playing a role, and we're not necessarily thinking about it. We're just sort of in that moment, we're feeling it, and that's it. And so like letting go of that it's almost like this, like you become addicted to this thing, which is,
Yes.
you know, it's not good for you, right? But you become addicted to this sort of interaction, and then when you're trying to leave, it's just like it's hard to let go of. So
Mm-hmm.
so I can see how Mama Aya was a profound tool for you to shift all of that energy. And you know, and it's interesting to me because when I see you, like we met a few weeks ago, and you reached out to me, and I could just sense like you have such a beautiful heart, and you have so much love to give. And we took a selfie, and I could see like the light in your eyes, and I said, wow, she's such a beautiful soul. And it's beautiful to know that although you had these experiences that were less than ideal, and can be very damaging, right? Even at the soul level, right? Like they're just very damaging, that you have chosen love, because I can see that in you, that you have chosen love in the way that you treat yourself, in the way that you interact with others. It's just like you are that bundle of love. And I, you know, And I hope you know this about yourself, but if you don't, I'm just reflecting this back to you because I just felt that so much. And I said I want her on my podcast because I want that bundle of love in my podcast. Like I need some of that energy here, and I can feel it. Like as soon as we got on the phone, on the call here on Zoom, I could sense that energy. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think that sometimes when we go through these experiences, we tend to not see the light that we carry and the light that we're able to access when we go through these experiences. And so I'm kind of curious. So if you want to share, when you sat with Mama Aya, I mean, well, first of all, we had to like prepare for it, right? So
Mhm.
did you have any? Were you scared
I
before you
was
sat with Mama?
terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And then the closer it got, the more scared I got. And I was like,
Me too.
am I doing the right thing? Like, maybe this isn't for me. But I was already like, I just felt that was my path. That was my trajectory forward. And, I committed to it. But it's terrifying right up until the moment. And even in the process, it is this complete surrender of control. And that can feel absolutely just disorienting, for a lack
Yes,
of better words.
definitely. Definitely. And I was feeling the same way. So it's nice to know that I wasn't the only one experiencing that like that fear of like, oh, what's gonna happen, And so when you took the medicine, I just wonder what was the message that you feel shifted things for you after that session. But I know that sometimes, and caveat here, I know sometimes the medicine gives us other things on the left field, but I feel like those left field messages that we get from Mama Aya or the medicines, they're still related to what we need to work on that's related to that intention. So I'm kind of curious to know what was the message that you feel was profound for you in regards to sitting with Mama Aya then.
For me, the message very much so was showing me the moment that I kind of closed my heart off to myself, and thus
Wow.
in turn started choosing people that weren't necessarily the best for me, because at that time, I think you can only meet people with the level of love that you love yourself with. And I didn't love myself very much at that time. I didn't feel very lovable. So I kept choosing partners that reflected that lack of love back to me. And I felt like I deserved it. And so then I was like trying to chase this feeling of love, like, let me just, sand down my edges so I'm easier to hold, easier for you to love me, even if it means I'm not getting my needs met. So for me, it was really that aha moment of showing me this is the moment when you shut your heart off. And this was the series of events that happened that led you to your relationship, but also led you to the moment where you were like, I can't take this anymore. I surrender. I want to heal. I want to get better. I don't want to keep choosing these partners. I don't want to keep having these similar relationships in my life that reflect that lack of love back to me. And so that in itself was just the greatest gift for me to be like, oh, wow. For like that second, I saw how every single puzzle piece fit into place and created this bigger mosaic of how my life turned out. And it wasn't, there are some pretty difficult parts I'm not so proud of, but also it was a part of my journey that led me to drinking ayahuasca and sitting with the medicine and really tapping into that part of myself that I didn't have the awareness at the time to recognize that was really the internal root of everything below it.
That is so beautiful. I love what you're saying about how it showed you the root cause, right? Like it showed you the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of it all, and it gave you the opportunity to see the higher perspective. This is what I love about these medicines is that they really give you the opportunity to see things outside of the outside of the egoic mind because the ego wants to go into the victim mode. It wants to go, which it's natural, and I don't want to ever shame anybody for that because I think it's a natural part of the journey of the grieving process. Sometimes we just kind of get stuck in those steps, but I believe that there's a reason, there's a sacred purpose for all of these steps. And so it's like just allowing yourself to witness that with kindness and compassion is important. And at the same time, being able to be shaken away from maybe the limited perspective that we are operating under, and seeing everything from from that higher perspective. eh, I think like you can't unsee it after that. Like you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's just sort of like it just shifts so much for you, right? Like it's just you
It
start
really does.
seeing things right, and so that's so powerful to see, and I've personally experienced that as well with psilocybin, with the spirit of
Hmm.
psilocybin. I've personally experienced that same experience. I think that just psychedelics in general, like regardless of, it just sort of like they give you that. And sometimes certain medicines are meant for us because we just need the energetics of that, and so of that specific medicine because it's going to work through us in the specific way that we need. So but then you've also been in this. So listen, we're talking about 2022, right? So we're in 2026. So it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious to know, like, how has this unfolded for you over all these years? Like, do you see did you see a shift right away? Or do you feel like the shift has happened over time? Like, what was your experience with this up until now, up until today with this?
They say healing isn't linear, and that is such an accurate statement. I think, when you're in it and when you're going through the midst of healing, you never feel like, oh my gosh, I get it now. It's always looking back and in hindsight and in, a shift of perspective, be like, oh, and I'm going to tell you, it's this spiral. There are relationships since sitting with the medicine that I have still attracted, that have still
Wow.
been in those patterns that kind of fed that inner child story of I'm not lovable and I need to fix who I am so that other people can love me. And it's this wild freaking journey where the more you do and the more you notice, the more you're like, all right, I need to go back. I need to sit down with myself and I really need to start getting to the root of what's going on and I need to start healing those parts of me. So I feel like the healing journey is an onion. You're never done. You never feel like I have a grasp on it. I feel like everybody in this journey is always feeling like kind of like they keeping their head above water at times. And so I would love to say that my journey since then has been ethereal and without any difficulties and that I've just been skating along. But honestly, you learn the most in life when challenges are presented to you. And it's how
Yeah.
you get through those challenges. So it's a journey. I can't say I'm perfect. I can't say that I'm continuing to like love myself in all the ways I saw that ayahuasca showed me that I wasn't. But it does bring a new awareness that when those things happen and when you do allow yourself to step away from the situation and have that time for clarity, you can also get curious with yourself and ask yourself questions without judging yourself. You can give yourself that self compassion. And I think something that's super important in the healing journey is forgiving yourself relentlessly. I
Mm.
don't feel like I can say that enough. I feel like forgiving yourself over and over again. Those times that you are in the car and you have road rage and whatever happens, forgive yourself. You find those relationships that mirror other relationships in your past that were uh maladaptive, you forgive yourself. And you also, again, you have the power to rewrite your story. And I
Mm.
think that's always bringing it back to yourself, bringing it back to that self awareness, and bringing it back to, I can change this. What do I need? What does my inner child need? What can I give to myself with what I have that will keep me moving forward instead of keeping me stuck?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is so powerful. And I love that we're weaving in the inner child because this is so perfect, right? And it's interesting because we haven't talked to each other all the time. But the interesting thing that I find fascinating about both of our journeys is that regardless of how we took our journey, The sort of like the main ingredient has shown up for both of us around the same time, which is working with the inner child. And so for me, it's kind of interesting because looking back at Mama Aya, the experience that I had with Mama Aya, I remember getting up to, well, first of all, I was prepared. I took like a little diaper bag, right? Because I was worried that, you hear
Oh,
the
yes.
stories that you can like, you can end up like soiling yourself and like all this stuff's like, well, I guess I'm just gonna get some Depends and I'm just gonna go with the flow and then I'll just have my little diaper bag for myself.
Hmm.
And I remember, I mean, thankfully that didn't happen for me, but I mean, it can. So that I was just preparing myself and so I remember getting up to go to the restroom and just Mama Aya just kind of like telling me like you see you can did you see because I looked over where I was lying down in the we had the beds and
Hmm.
so and I saw my little diaper bag and she told me you see you have a diaper bag, you take care of yourself, you're your own mother, you're starting now, you're your own mother. And it was weird because at the moment I felt like I was 2 years old. It was so weird. I mean, I know I wasn't physically 2 years old, but I feel like I was like at that moment like I guess mentally or emotionally I
Hmm.
was kind of like revisiting that energetically. And so it's like, oh yeah, I can be, yeah, I am my own mom. And so I went to the restroom, and then came out and I just was feeling into that. And it was interesting because that was a very small amount of the session, right? Like there was a lot more that happened for me. But that was a very particular moment where it was a domino effect from there. And I'm not going to say that it was a 180 change for me. It wasn't by any means. But what I can tell you is that I can see the very subtle ways that I have changed in the way that I relate to myself and I
Hmm.
relate to my inner child and I allow myself to bring more play, which I've been in this journey of connecting to video games last year. So last year in January, around my birthday, I was invited. We invited somebody, a friend to my house, and he was like, "Oh, let me show you this Pokemon video game. It's called Pokemon Unite." And I just love. I don't know what it was, but I just loved it because you get to be the Pokemon yourself, and so it was just so great. And then I was just activated into this like I just wanted to play, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And then it was funny because then I was just like in this really weird place last year specifically where I set the intention to connect with my inner child, believe it or not, I did. And then I set that intention, this happens, and then I'm questioning myself. I was like, I'm a 40-year-old woman. What am I doing? What am I doing playing video games? Like I'm too old for this. And so I
Hmm.
I had to go through this journey of that resistance that was showing up and this feeling of guilt and this feeling of shame and feeling like I didn't deserve it. And like, it was like this whole weird, like, thing. And then thankfully, I'm so grateful my husband also has taken the medicine. And so he's activated in many ways and he's very gifted. He's very gifted in many ways. Like he has the ability to see certain things. And I mean, he knows me well. And so he sat me down and it's like, why is it a problem? I said, because I'm old. It's like, so what's the problem? Like so you don't get the chance to relax and play video games. Like what's the problem? So anyway, so we had like these conversations over that, and it was interesting because I even though I continued to engage with this activity, I was moving through a lot of that heavy energy, a lot of that resistance, and a lot of the programming as well that I received from my mother, and
Hmm.
because she was against video games when I was growing up, so that was also part of it. And so, but that was something I wanted to do, and then also moving through also the feeling of shame because I did get a little bullied a few times around not knowing how to play video games when I was a kid because I didn't
Hmm.
have that, because I would go to somebody's house and everybody would be playing video games and I would be sitting there like I don't know how to do it and I would just be shy and I would just watch the kids play. And then when I tried, I didn't know what I was doing. So then, I got a little bit of bullied
Hmm.
around that. Oh, you don't know how to do it. So then I just kind of like, I got scared and then I decided not to even engage. So it's like, oh, I guess it's not good for me anyway. And I just like shut it out. And then so I had to like push myself to learn how to use a controller. Like that in itself is,
Hmm.
is a skill. Okay. That's a
Yes,
skill
it
set.
is.
All right. I don't care what you say, what people say, that's a skill set that you have to develop. And so I was like, I was like sort of developing that skill set and like pushing myself to do it. And then so it was like, oh, okay. So then giving myself permission to go through all of that like messy energy. And then I kind of went into this place of just allowing myself to be in that connection with my inner child. And then, interestingly enough, and I told you this, and I wanted to share this too here. In December, I this past December, I went up to see my mom, and we have complicated relationship with our parents, a lot of us, and I'm not an exception. And so I requested something for Christmas for her from her, and she didn't do it, and I like the version of me I think that prior to Mama Aya and all this work that I've been doing of reparenting myself, I think that version of me would have been like the one that hasn't worked on herself, would have been so angry. I would have thrown a tantrum. I would have been upset. How dare you? Because that little kid, that little girl is being ignored. Right.
Hmm.
And so, but at that moment, I felt the trigger and I was like, I'm triggered. But then I was able to say, okay, let me just go back. And I went back to the restroom. I looked at myself in the mirror and I talked to myself and I talked to that mini me and I looked at her and I said, I know that you're upset. I know that this is not that your mom told you that she was going to do for you, but I'm here for you and I'm going to be your mom and I will take care of you. And so when we go back home, I will cook those things that you wanted for yourself, right? Like for Christmas. And so, because I wanted some traditional Venezuelan stuff, and she's married to a Southern man, and it's just complicated. So it's like, okay. So, instead of going into that reaction, I was really proud of myself because I said, you know what? Like, I actually reparented myself enough to where I can actually go to my little girl within me and talk to her and say, it's going to be okay. I'll take care of you. Like, don't worry
Yes.
about it.
Yes.
You know what I
And that
mean?
can be so hard, especially in those moments when you are triggered. But again, you had the self awareness and you're rewriting the stories in real time. You're like, I can give to myself what my mother can't give to me. And that's emotional regulation. That's growth. That's healing in action. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you because that
Thank
is
you.
so hard, especially when you're in that moment and your little you is throwing a temper tantrum and you just want to scream and shout. It's hard. And what you did, I bow down to you because
Oh,
that's work in action.
yeah, thank you. Well, and I feel like, but you've been doing the same too. Like you've been working on, with your inner child, and just kind of wanted to, I guess, if you can share a little bit about the your experience with working with your inner child, because this is something that we're sharing. We might be working it a little differently, or maybe it shows up a little differently. But yeah, I'm curious to know, like, how are you? How did, well, first of all, how did that show up for you? And then, and what have you been doing lately to take care of that little you?
So, interestingly enough, I found out about your inner child through a support group that I am in part of. It's called ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholic and Otherwise Dysfunctional Families. And
Wow.
in the meetings, we often talk about our inner child and reparenting those parts of you that didn't get the love, didn't get the attention, that felt abandoned when you were younger. And for me at first, it was such a wild and weird concept. It was like, what are you talking about? We have these versions of ourselves still inside. But the more work I did, the more it made sense. It was like, oh yeah, like that's the part of me that's getting triggered. That's the part of me that's feeling hurt. It's because not this moment that happened, it's all of those moments before that that's triggering that. So that's where I learned about inner child work. And then I was in therapy at the same time. And so we were working through it. And currently, right now, my one of my most favorite things to do, I think, anytime I'm triggered or anytime I'm going through anything, is writing my little me a letter. I've
Oh, I love
written,
that.
yes, I've
I
written it
love
in my
that.
diary, on napkins, in my notes app, just whatever I have handy in that moment. And it's just a letter from my adult self to my little me saying, I see you. I am really sorry that you're going through what you're going through. I'm here for you. And it's never in a shaming way, like, I don't know about you, but I was criticized growing up for having emotions, especially for having big emotions.
Yes.
So it was learning to give myself that compassion and grace along the way and not shame and say, you're allowed to be feeling all of the things that you're feeling. I'm here. I'm holding you. You're safe. We're in this together. And like you said, I think it's also building that trust within yourself
Mm,
where if you say something, you're going to follow up on it with yourself. You're going to keep that promise to yourself. And thus, by doing that, you're training yourself to trust yourself. You're training yourself that, listen, I'm not going to abandon the parts of you that other people did. You know,
right.
other people might have shamed you, like you said, for playing video games or not knowing how to, or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to hold you in this space as you are. I'm going to let you feel all of the emotions and I'm going to hold you. And so that has to be one of my favorite ways to reparent my inner child. I turn to it so often, it's ridiculous. And then honestly, what we were talking about the other day about play, and you were telling me the story that you just recalled about the video games. It really invited me to reflect on my own life and where I wasn't giving myself play and how I could kind of loosen the grip, let things go, trust the process, get a little messy, get a little dirty, not be like looking out of the sides of my eyes like, is someone watching me? Is someone talking about me? Just kind of let those wild parts of you live. And, you know, whether it's a jam session in my car at a stoplight or whether it's, you know, a little boogie in the grocery aisle, they got some good music. What can I say? It's just really allowing yourself to feel silly, to feel like it doesn't matter. I'm 43 years old and I've had the same things where it's like I feel like I need to be an adult. This is goofy, blah blah blah. But it's not really goofy. It's I think when you are more in tune with those parts of yourself, that's what attracts other people to you. I mean, if you look at TikTok and social media and all of these things, the things that get a lot of likes are when people are just kind of being silly and being themselves and you know dancing out in public and just letting their freak flag fly. So it's really been fun to discover my weird and to allow myself to be weird without judging myself
Mm.
like I've done in the past.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about allowing your weird to be alive. I think that that's the reason I feel these type of videos that people post that are where they're allowing themselves to record their weird and put it out.
Mhm.
I think the reason why people resonate with it so much is because I think everybody wants to allow their weird to exist. I think everybody wants to feel received and wants to feel like they can be themselves. And then, so for people who maybe are not giving themselves permission to do so, they then get to like live it through the video, right? Like they get to
Exactly.
experience it through the video. Hopefully it gets to the point where it can activate it to where they themselves then give themselves permission to express their own weirdness in their own particular way. And so I think that's where it is. I think all of us, in some shape or form, are are a level of weird, and I think that's beautiful, right? And
I
then
think that's what makes everybody different from each other in
right,
such a beautiful way. If we were all the same, it would be boring. And,
exactly,
you know, somebody else's weird might not get along with my weird, and that's okay. That doesn't mean anybody's weird is wrong. It just means we're living differently. And that's what makes each person so lovable, you know, because
exactly.
you're not
Ugh, I
hiding
love it.
those parts of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you're saying that so much. Is that like that's what makes you so lovable. Like, and this is where going back to what I told you, you're just a bundle of love. And
Thank you.
I'm telling you, like I'm not kidding you, because that it's so beautiful that you say that came out of your heart so beautifully. Like that is what makes you lovable. And my gosh, why why keep yourself from giving yourself that gift and also giving others the gift of allowing them to love you for who you are, instead of putting these walls? Because I don't know about you, but I can tell when people are putting up walls, girl. I can tell. and it just feels awkward and strange, and it's just like feels like, you're walking on eggshells, and
Yes.
it's just weird, and so weird, not in the good way. I guess.
In an
It's
uncomfortable way.
yeah, it's kind of uncomfortable, right? And so I think it's so beautiful that you're saying that, and I really hope that whoever's listening to this, if you're feeling inspired to connect with that weird, just do it. I'm gonna tell you a story. So I took a road trip to Arizona back in 2021, and it's interesting because the back then in 2021 I was pursuing my spiritual response practitioner classes, and I was really in this interesting space where I was getting activated a lot, right? And so even when I went there, I got my name. When I went to Sedona, I think I told you the story about my name and how I got my
Mhm.
name in Sedona and everything.
So
So in that
beautiful.
in that same in that same journey that I told you about, I met with this beautiful soul. She's part of my soul family, and I don't know what it was with her, but it was just, of course, she's an Aquarius, right? So let's you and I understand the Aquarius thing, right?
Totally.
Aquarius wants things that are unconventional, okay? That energy always wants. So her sun is an Aquarius. For us, our sun is not an Aquarius, but we have Aquarius energy in our charts. So we vibe with the energy, right? And so anyway, so I connect, I go, and then I don't know, it was just like this like really interesting connection between her and I. And then we were in this really beautiful, freeing energy, and we were just having fun and just being silly. Like I remember just getting off like on the side of the road and dancing to the wind. Like we literally did that. I mean, it's
Yes.
so amazing. And we were just, oh my God. And I had like a scarf, and I just started like dancing to the wind, and I was inspired, like just being in her presence, because she just has this like energy of freedom within her that
Hmm.
she just shares naturally. Like she's not necessarily telling you anything. She's just in that energy. And so it's like it gave me that permission to just be in that freedom, and it was just so amazing and powerful, and yeah, and magical. It's just like as I'm talking about it, like I feel my heart open up so much, because it's just that's what I wish for everybody,
Hmm.
to feel so free that they can stop and dance to the wind.
Yes. And not sit there and think about everything else around you. Just actually be present in that moment. And when you find
Yes.
those people that you just vibe with, and you can be silly and goofy, and you can have those deep talks, you can have the whole plethora, that authenticity, that, like you said, freedom, I really feel gives the other person and yourself permission to kind of play this dance of like, all right, let's see where your weird's at. Let's see
Yeah.
where my weird's at. And it's so fun because you discover aspects about yourself. You discover aspects about your friends and your soul family that you wouldn't have known before. And I think that's what really can deepen relationships, is just allowing yourself to be that free. And being that free is not easy and it's scary. But when you
Yes.
have the right people that hold you in that space, it is exhilarating.
It's so exhilarating. Like I cannot explain to you. Like it was just magical, and the word magical is not even enough to express this. And that's why I say I really pray and wish this on people, to experience this at least some time in their lives, so that they experience that taste and of freedom, and hopefully weave that into your life in some shape or form. And I think that freedom is directly tied to the inner child. I think that when we are connecting to our inner child from a place from because this is a thing too. When we're connecting to our inner child, there's because we have like these negative experiences, when we first connect to our inner child, it could potentially be a little sad, because
Mm-hmm.
because maybe we haven't been paying attention to that little us, right? That little inside of us, that mini us. And so and so it can be a little challenging, right? Like to do that at first. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the more we allow ourselves to be present, like we can also see the other side, that innocent, freeing energy that is related to that childlike energy, that playfulness that exists within us. I don't think anyone in this world is incapable of connecting to play. I think that because we all did when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yes.
all connected to play at some point. So we
Mm-hmm.
have access to this part of ourselves, this aspect of ourselves. It's just as a matter of like, are we giving ourselves permission to connect to that? And so going back, circling back to what you said about being around people that allow you that freedom, I think that's where those things are activated is when we are in the presence of people who they themselves have gone deep enough to where they gave themselves the opportunity to be in that energy of freedom to where you then feel like you have permission to be in that energy and to express that yeah, and it can be exhilarating and almost it almost feels addictive, to be honest.
Yes,
Like I just
it
want to exist
really
there all the
does.
time.
It's like the more you do, the more you
It's like
want
you
to do
want
it.
exactly. I just want to be in this energy all the time. Can I just be in freedom all the time? But I know for me, I weaved in and out from it. Like, you know,
Mhm.
it doesn't, it's not constant. But I'd love to be in that constant state. Like that would be incredible for me. Like, yes.
Same. And
Yeah.
circling back to something that you said before, and I just want to touch on it briefly, the
Yeah.
shame and the self-blame is a part of the process, is a part of all of that shame and that self blame. Those are not your thoughts. Those are thoughts from conditioning, from your parents, from a teacher, from a mentor, somebody in your life that impacted you when you were a child. That is their voice. So when the shame and the self blame comes up, that's when you really, as difficult as it can be, really need to lean into that self compassion and give yourself grace and just allow it to be as it is without trying to change what happened to you or what you're going through, to just let it exist. So I just wanted to touch on that really quick. It's
Yeah. I love
normal.
that.
And it's not you. That voice, those critical voices in your head are not your voice. That's not your true voice. It's somebody else's voice in your head.
Yeah. So you're so right about that. And I think that especially with SRT and the way that we work with SRT, you know, the programs that you find are, and a lot of times you're not even aware, right? Like the thoughts are there, they're automatic, and you don't even realize that it was just something that was potentially repeated to you several, because you know there's that conditioning. If you're
Mm-hmm.
repeated certain things while you're growing up, then eventually you kind of get into that conditioning, and then it just becomes part of the, you don't even realize, right, that it's not yours because it just kind of becomes who you are, even though technically it's not, but it feels as if it is who you are, right? And
Right. Because
then
as children, we don't stop loving our caregivers, we stop
exactly.
loving ourselves.
Yes, which
And
is so
that's really
sad.
where the breakdown happens.
Yeah, that is so sad. And you're right. Like, you know, and I think that's where a lot of times it can get so complicated when we have experiences with caregivers or parents that are abusive or that are just really in an unhealthy state. And then we just can't let go of certain situations or even give ourselves permission to maybe create some space between us and them because of the fact that we don't stop loving them. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like that unconditional love that's coming from that pure space of of the inner child, right? Like it's coming directly from source, girl. Like I feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
directly from source. And
Yes.
and then, you know, and then it's, you know, I know for me, like going back to where you said the guilt and the shame, when I was moving through all of this stuff, I felt a lot of guilt and shame over exercising boundaries towards
Mm-hmm.
my mother and wanting to just create some space and feeling and also like the expectation of what you think family should look like, but yet, you know, I always think about this. You know, yes, it would be ideal that XYZ is happening because that's what you're told, or maybe you observe in families that are healthy. But
Mm-hmm.
that's because the environment is creating the right conditions for that to exist. But if you're in an environment where those conditions don't exist, why should we feel shame or guilt over wanting to stop those interactions so that we can feel better and we can
Mm-hmm.
and we can start healing because if we stay in these environments in these relationships, and then even what we talked about earlier, talking about abusive relationships, even romantic relationships, but this can also be with parents. If we
Mm-hmm.
stay in these interactions and we continue to interact in that way, and we're trying to heal, and that's something that I learned the hard way. I go back. Guess what? You're never, because you keep going back and getting hurt over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, if you don't
Exactly.
create that space so that you can have that sacred boundary, that sacred space, so that you can be in your own energy and allow things to unfold, and all of these experiences to be held in a loving space, then basically we're just going back. We're just going into like a loop, like
Mm-hmm.
a feedback loop, and that's definitely not healthy. So I think, with that said, recognizing, for that, of course, is not ours, and also recognize, and also giving ourselves permission to say no to
Mm-hmm.
certain behaviors, whether our inner child feels like, oh, I love, you can still love them, right, and at the same time understand that some of that love needs to be poured back to you,
Yes.
right?
And
Because
that setting boundaries is hard, walking away is hard, but it is the greatest act of self-love. And
hmm
every time you go back to a situation that you said you wouldn't, or you soften those boundaries, you're telling that inner child you're not safe. I'm
hmm
going to abandon you just like everybody else has before. I'm going to repeat these patterns that everyone else has before. So, as tough as it is, I think it's so important that you dig your heels into the ground and you remember, I'm doing this for me, not to hurt anybody else. I'm doing this because I love myself. I want to heal myself. I want a better relationship with myself. And thus, when you have a better relationship with yourself, you have a better relationship with everybody else around you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. I mean, I'm telling you, when I experienced the first time I experienced having to hold a boundary, oh my God, I was so scared. I was so scared to do that. And then there was the guilt and the shame. And this was back in my 20s, the first time I held a
Mm-hmm.
boundary up. And I mean, and I had to do it like several times throughout my life, to the point where I think there's sort of like an understanding now between my mother and I. So where there's no longer the pushing up boundaries, but she, of
Mm-hmm.
course, she's tried, but now I think I don't know if it's maybe age. Maybe she's just like tired, or just basically, she just got the message. But yeah, it's interesting, how like it wasn't like a one and done for me, and I don't know if it's the same
Oh,
for you.
and yes, it
Yeah,
never is
yeah,
because I feel like that's the inner child in us that still hopes that maybe
yes.
they'll show up differently this time. If I just try a little bit harder, if I just do XYZ, now they're going to see, now they're going to understand, now they're going to show up in the ways that make me feel seen, heard, valued, and loved. And it doesn't happen. And it's hard. I can't tell you how many times I've softened boundaries, I've gone back. It's a process. Like I said at the beginning, healing is not linear. It's an onion, it's a spiral. You're going to revisit themes in your life that you thought, oh, I already dealt with this. I'm good. No. And
Yeah.
it's just giving yourself love along the way. And again, that self forgiveness is so important. It's not shaming yourself for going back, it's not shaming yourself for trying again, it's not shaming yourself. It's saying, I see you. I see what you're doing. I love you. I love that part of you that believes in other people. And it's really that, to me, is the most important part of reparenting, is when you do have those moments where you go back or where you falter, you don't sit there in that critical voice that you were grown up with. Is that you
Mm.
sit there and no matter how many times you go back, you allow the same self-compassion, the same self-love, the same forgiveness every single time, no matter how many times you break your own boundaries with yourself.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that is so powerful. And yeah, I love that you're saying that, because I think that a lot of times we think that we're going to experience this one and done. And then we get angry with ourselves because we're
Hmm.
not what we think we should be, and we put a lot of effort. Because I mean, going through a healing journey is effort, girl. Like it's so much effort. And it's like, I want to see return of investment, ROI,
Yes.
right?
And I want
Where's
it
my return?
now.
Yeah, and I want it now. And then you find out, oh, okay, it's gonna take some time for this to
Yes.
unfold and for it to actually show up.
Yes.
But it does show up. It does show up. It's just gonna take some time and some constant work
Hmm.
and connection there. So yeah,
And
I love
nobody is
that.
perfect. Everybody is human. Everybody has fault. Everybody's going to make mistakes. Again, it's just learning to love yourself along the way instead of criticizing and shaming and blaming and giving yourself the guilt trip. So I love that you're
Yeah.
sharing all this. Thank you for being so open.
Yeah, of course. Are you kidding me? Well, I mean, it's first of all, it's super easy with you. And then second of all, I mean, I think we resonate a lot with the very same things. And I kind of wanted to also ask you about this group. So uh I would love to share that on the show notes too for people that I don't know if you have like a link or anything like that that people can go to, and if they maybe they feel like they want to do some of that work with that group, I think that would be really great to
Yes.
share. It sounds like they're, I mean, from what you're sharing with me, it sounds like it's very powerful what they're doing. And yeah, and so I'll definitely share that in the show notes. But we're about to end the session, right? But before we end it, I just kind of wanted to ask you if you have anything else that you want to share, or anything that you want to kind of recommend, right, to the people who are listening to this. The people who may listen to this might just be starting their journey, or maybe they're stuck in their journey right now, and they're kind of like, I don't know if I want to do this inner child stuff. Like, what would you recommend to somebody like that that's maybe like, apprehensive or maybe scared or starting out their journey?
I think what has been a lesson that keeps showing up for me, and it's hard, but I think it's really the way to do it is to let go of control and
Hmm.
just trust the process. It feels weird. It might bring up icky things inside of you that you didn't want to deal with, especially when you first start. You're going to be dealing with an inner child who's pretty freaking angry.
Hmm.
So it's just sitting with that, moving through it, not allowing those emotions to stay within your body, and knowing, the only way out is through. Trust the
Hmm.
process. Keep moving forward, even if it's just, a baby step at a time. Movement is movement. And when you do have those moments where you falter or where you backslide or, where you wish you had done something differently in hindsight, pause, pause with yourself and just ask yourself, what am I needing right now? Instead of self shaming, what am I needing in this
Hmm.
moment? What can I give to myself that I didn't get growing up that I need that can help fulfill the needs that I'm trying to get from somebody else or something else? So I think it's just healing is weird and it's messy and it's chaotic and it doesn't always feel like rainbows and butterflies. But if you commit to healing and you commit to the journey, you are going to find so much light along the way. You're going to find loving people who support you and uplift you and shine the light right back. And I, as as difficult as this journey's been these last 6 years, I wouldn't change a single moment of it because I can actually say I'm really, really proud of myself for continuing on, even when everything in me just wanted to quit and give up and just go back to who I was before. I'm so much happier, even in those moments where I doubt myself or I'm upset or whatever comes up for me, because life is life.
Right.
I'm so much happier on this journey now and in this body and in this being than I've ever been in my entire life. So, as hard as it is, try to surrender control, let go, and trust the process.
Oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing yourself, for coming in to have this conversation. I think it was just such a perfect conversation to have as part of the beginning of this podcast. Because I think that a lot of us, when we're starting our journey, we're kind of shown the connection to our inner child, and that seems to be also a theme that's been showing up for a lot of people as a collective lately. So I think this is very fitting, and I just love your approach in the way that you connect to your inner child. And I'm gonna take some of those notes, especially the writing the letters to my inner child. I think that I'm looking forward
So
to doing that.
helpful.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm
And
looking
don't
forward to
edit
that.
yourself. Let it flow. Let the tears come. Let your inner child be seen and held.
I love that so much. Yeah, so thank you so much, Cheryl, for
Thank you for
being
having
here.
me.
And for those of you who want to connect more with her, Cheryl does have a blog that she writes on, and so I'm gonna leave that on the show notes so that you can connect with her. And if you want to continue your path of getting to know her more, and you can go ahead and check that out. So thank you, everybody.
Thank
Namaste.
you.
Thank you for spending this time with me in the Mystic Playground. If today's episode resonated with you, be sure to follow, rate, and share with someone that loves to explore the mystical. Until next time, stay curious and keep playing in the magic.